Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I am Everardo Resendiz. People around here know me as Coach Ever. I am a business and executive coach over here in Action Coach of Northwest Louisiana. Today, I have Warren Vandever with Gophr as my guest, and we're going to be talking about the business, the journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and cherry picking to what really is like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, please be sure to subscribe and turn on your alerts so that you get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. And so, Warren, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Would you share with us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about the business?
Yeah, I guess my background, I started off in the military. Spent most of my adult life, early 12 years in the military, did 8 years in the Marine Corps, and then I joined a Army 20th group for a little while. Then decided to get a real job and found my way into process operating. Became a oil and gas refinery specialist, and then eventually into technology, and that's where I'm at today. Is leading up as CEO, founder and CEO of Gophr. We are a logistics tech um, solution to help people get instant quotes, real-time tracking, and automate their fleet management, and essentially making them their own freight broker without having to use a freight broker.
So, tell us a little bit about how you got into that. What led you to start this app, this company of yours?
All right. Well, I was building a house for my father in my backyard. A little father-son project turned into about an 1,800 square foot brick house. And being the terrible DIYers that we are, the 20th trip to the lumber store, he's like, you ought to make an app to do this for us. And I just kind of laughed about it. I was like, what do I know about building apps? I'm a grunt. I've been in the military for, a decade or more. And I just kind of shelved it. Well, fast forward, I'm going to school for engineering, chemical and mechanical, and I had to take an elective to stay full time on the GI Bill. And I took an entrepreneurship course, and at the time I couldn't spell entrepreneur. To be fair, I still can't. It's a tough word. Um, but the final for that class was come up with a business plan that generates 10,000 jobs in 10 years. And so I kind of thought about it and I put it on paper and I pitched and I got second place at the Holtz competition put on by the Clinton Foundation. Hired the guy who beat me and we repitched and we won. And so that's really what got us going. And we started in the same town this company called Waiter started in fact, the same building. And then went from Napkin to NASDAQ and IPO'd and hit $1 billion market cap in 4 years. So founded in that same building, and they were doing a big merger, and they had a massive layoff at that time. And I was able to hire 18 of the early employees and founders of that company to help me build and scale Gopher. And we've been running solid ever since, mainly in the B2B industrial delivery space.
Okay, so this sounds to me similar to a delivery service like a courier service. How is it different?
So there is Courier, but we are the only digital platform that offers Courier, full truckload, less than full truckload, hot shot, and everything in between all in one platform. So we'll provide you instant quotes, multiple quotes, to either get you an LTL rate for the cheapest or a hot shot rate for the fastest or a courier for the most economical delivery for your needs. But we'll provide them all in real time. And once you push it through, it hits our dashboard, our drivers claim it, and they're off to the races. And your things get delivered faster, more efficient, and more cost effective than before.
Oh, that is amazing. And so you've been at this for 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, starting in 2019. Is that correct?
Yeah, this April will make 6 years. Yes, sir.
All right. So tell me about that journey. What has it been like?
Treacherous, if you will. And that's the thing that no one ever tells you when you get into entrepreneurship is, hey, this everyone's like, oh, you're gonna make money, you're gonna make your own hours, you're gonna do great things, and it's gonna be awesome. And then you do it, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, I make my own hours. It's called 24 a day, and so the whole misconception of making your own hours went out the window day one. And then it just became more and more complex of okay, yeah, make my own hours, sure. Okay. I get to choose what I want to do when I want to do it. No, the employees and the market tell you, when and what you can do. So it was definitely not what I had anticipated when I started. Knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have started it just because it was such a headache to get going. Once it was going, um, it was much more doable, but the actual startup of it was very treacherous. We were able to raise a couple $1 million, get going, and then COVID happened and shut the world down. So during that time, we pivoted to the B2B and to the disaster aid, and we caught the ear of Cummins North America, which was our first B2B client, and impressed the president, and they wanted us in all 50 states. We're like, hey, slow down. It took you 100 and something years to get there. Give us a little time. So we've been, leveraging their relationship along with others in the B2B industrial world to grow and offer, better solutions than what's out there. And during that time, we went from 37 corporate employees before COVID to down to five. And then AI ran everything, and we outsourced as much as we could to engineering firms and marketing, et cetera. But mainly it's been the group of five that have kind of held it together. And there were months and months where we all went without pay, right? And no one mentions that when you're starting a business, like, oh,
That's
get ready
right.
to not make money, right? Oh, well, no, I'm starting a business, I'm going to make money. But no, you go months and months and months, sometimes without pay, and then somebody will come and throw investment in, and you'll have 3 or 4 months worth of pay, and then you're back to no pay until finally, you're pitching investors every single day, and you get to number 652 no's, and then 653 is like, hey, yeah, we got 5 million bucks for you. Great. So I would let everyone know when you start a company that it's not all puppies and rainbows. There's a lot of grit and grind, and you've got to go through the rough patches in order to truly see what you're going to be doing, and then the reason why no one else has done it because it sucks. And then people will take notice of that, and you might, like I said, you might receive 652 no's before you get that one yes, but you keep persevering and you get through it, and you end up on the other side.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Warren, here, but even when you do get those temporary wins, right? I call them temporary because you've been grinding for a while and you suffer through it, and you get that yes, and that kind of injects some validity to all the effort that you're putting in, right? But that's very it's transitory, right? It lasts for a very little time because you're back to getting a lot of no's, on the way, right? So there's a point in which it shifts, right? And now you start hearing more yeses and more interest than no's. When did that happen for you?
That's a great question. I think the transition point for us was when we quit worrying about trying to sell it. We said, hey, let's make this a viable option no matter what, whether people want to buy it or not. We know it works. And let's just focus on getting the software where we tell everybody it's at, right? We want automated dispatching, we want real-time tracking, we want all these things. Let's get it there, right? And instead of waiting for the money to get it there and waiting for the proper client to get it there, let's just get it there ourselves, put our heads down and grind and concentrate on making that happen. And then, those results will speak for themselves and people will start taking notice. And that's what happened. We launched first with our initial product, which was a marketplace app, just like Amazon, and it let people shop local. It would geofence them to shop within 30 miles, get everything delivered to them same day, through their own stores. Well, that worked great until Hurricane Laura came and wiped out all the stores. So when we pivoted, yes, we pivoted to B2B, but we really didn't advertise it. We were more, okay, we know what we want to do now. Now let's build it and make it a viable option. And then when it becomes truly viable, people will take notice. And that's what happened. We recently started a program with National Oil Varco, or NOV, to help them handle their logistics and track their assets and move them from A to B with more efficiency. And so that got us a little bit of clout and a little bit of traction, and then investors started coming in. And so I guess the advice is know why you're doing it. Don't do it to make money. Do it to solve a problem, and then the money will come.
In my business we call that procession. It's rather than focusing on the end goal, what it is that you want, you focus on what you really make sure that gets results for people. And if you stick to it long enough and you do it right, then money will follow. But you got to do it right, make sure that it works. So what's the ownership structure for you right now? Are you still the sole owner? Do you have partners in it?
So I've got I was founder and CEO, and then I've got four other guys who have been here from day one, basically. Well, three of those guys have been here from day one, and then one hired an intern like probably 4 months after we started, and he's still here. He's now our lead engineer. Um, and so they all have ownership in the company, and then so it's us five, and then we've sold equity to other investors, but still maintain quite a bit of equity between us, and obviously for future rounds, Series A, et cetera, that will raise further capital. I think we'll have to do that with NOV because they want us to be international in all the states they're operating in, so that takes money. And that takes hiring people in those states and hiring customs authorities and things like that to work directly for us. So I think we will have to do a Series A within the next 2 years to grow at the pace they want us to grow at.
So being that you were the owner, your CEO, what's your role like? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, what my role should be and what I actually do are two different things. What my role should be is keeping everybody on the same mission and driving in the same direction and raising capital and promoting the company and lining up strategic partnerships. I do that as well as I also do some accounting when I need to. I help out with the dispatch when I need to. I help out with the sales. Like so, everyone wears multiple hats in a startup, right? And yeah, we're 6 years deep, but we still think of ourselves as very much a startup. And we've brought in more people, but it's still that mindset of, hey, do it until it hurts too bad to do it, and then we'll hire someone on to kind of alleviate some of that pain. So everybody does way more than they should be. Um, but it's almost that mentality of, hey, this is startup life, and that's just how it's going to be.
That's right. You'll eventually grow out of that, but it does take some compromise, right?
Hmm.
You realize that no matter how many people you hire, they're not going to be doing exactly what you do or how you do it, and so it's getting across um, that benchmark, right? That will get you to move and do more of the things that you need to be doing.
Yeah,
But
I'm sorry. Yeah, I took maybe a couple of months in each role learning how to do those positions. And then when I hired somebody, I had expectations. Now they weren't always led up to mine because I was more into it, right? I founded it, but as long as they were being done to a certain level and I knew how to do it, then it was fine of how they were doing it because I could always go back and fix it. But what it's led to is people doing what they do better than I did it eventually. So, or originally. So,
there it
I've
is.
got
That's
the
right.
mentality of I know what I know and I don't what I don't, and I'll hire people who know what I don't, and it's worked out very well.
That's awesome. It is part of the development. Right. Well, let's move on to what makes your business so special, right? So, I mean, what you're offering is unique in many ways, right? But if I'm in the audience, how do I know whether I should be coming to you and using your service?
All right. Well, so when we talk about that and being in the audience, there's two different audiences. There's, hey, you want to be a driver or you want to be a customer. And I'll talk about the drivers first because that's the most American way to do things. Hey, you own a vehicle, you can make money with it, right? They're all owner operators. They're sole proprietors. They come in, they fill out our onboarding paperwork that reads their insurance cards, all this other information, their driver's license, make sure everything's up to date, their drivers, their vehicles in a good working order, and they're ready to drive. And they take a couple of training courses through the app, and they're good to go. And now they're working whenever hours they want, when they want, whatever day they want, whether they want to work 1 hour or 100 hours, they can do that a week. And their salary is based on their performance, right? How much they want to work. So it's the true American dream. Hey, you get in what you take out what you put in. So it's very, very well received by drivers, and we have a very low churn rate because we're the highest paying in the industry. And then on the customer side, once they actually put in their first order and they see, oh, this is super simple. It actually said, oh, you chose a car, but we actually recommend a Conestoga or an LTL because X, Y, and Z. And You didn't actually know the weight, but we prompted the weight for you, or you didn't know the dimension. So all that's in there automatically for you, and they're like, oh wow, this makes my would be an hour and 15 worth of getting this shipped and building a BOL and et cetera down to 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use it, right? So once they use it the first time, it's pretty sticky.
And so, okay, on the first one, um, there's plenty of people who are doing the Uber gig and the DoorDash and all these things, right? Are they the type of people that you will be bringing on board to do the work?
Some of them are. A lot of them drive for both Uber, DoorDash, Grubhub, all those, and then they come and drive for us as well. The reason they like driving for us is one, they're not carrying food, so there's no Karen at the other end mad about missing a side of ranch, and they're not carrying people, so there's no I guess fear factor in that. Hey, is this person in the back seat gonna kill me, or are they gonna get mad if I bring them to the wrong place? Whatever it is. Versus there's a laptop in the back seat, and no one cares if it's cold when it shows up.
Right.
Um, so they make more because these are B2B and not consumer based mostly. And then there's less risk. But yes, some of them do come from Uber. Some of them, it's their first driving gig. And we've made it so intuitive that you can pick up the app for the first time and know exactly how to use it. And there's also help videos if you don't, but it's very intuitive for using for people who are not familiar with the gig economy.
Outstanding. Now, the actual customer, the users of these, it's B2B. So this is, an attorney that needs to send a contract somewhere, or a lab that needs samples sent somewhere. Am I
Correct.
correct in that assumption?
Yes.
Right. Very good. And so, that sort of makes me wonder, how do you then get the word out to them that you have this service available?
So there's some clout, right? There's people that find our website organically because so and so's using it or they've heard about it. And there's a lot of hey, it's send salesmen out there to pull doors, bring donuts and boudin and say, hey, this is our service, learn about it and sign up for a free 30-day trial and see how it works out. And if you like it, let's continue to move forward and do business together. There's also partnerships with refineries and things like that where we have conversations with their CFOs and their CEOs and their executive leadership and say, hey, look, at the end of the day, you guys move things from A to B and you want to save as much money as possible and you want to have as much oversight to keep you in compliance and have on-time deliveries. Let's see how the software can work for you. So a lot of it is manual process. We hopeful that will become less and less as we go and we build more clout. But currently, it's probably 80% of the sales cycle is
The direct
manual.
approach. I got you. Okay. And so what areas are you servicing this time?
So we deliver nationwide, technically international to Canada and US, Mexico, with Sprinter van on hire. And then if you want all the way down to a small car, we're from basically Houston and New Orleans. And so this region, and we're moving north, east, and west at the same time as we grow. Now those offerings bring in sedans and pickup trucks and things and more hot shot. But as far as you want delivery, we've got you covered in the three countries, Canada, US, and Mexico, from Sprinter van on hire.
Very, very good. Okay. So we have spent some time talking about these. Let me ask you about the success. Um, when did you finally realize, okay, we have something good here that has traction? Um, was there a point in your development where that became a reality? Uh, can you identify it?
Yes and no. There's always been like, hey, every time we sell it, you get this boost of confidence, like, hey, we've built something worth selling, right? Look, somebody just paid, $100 million valuation for some equity in this company. That's great. But at the same time, it's more of, hey, my head's down, I'm just grinding. I'm building something, I'm moving forward, I'm always reiterating, always building new features, trying to stay ahead of everyone else in this space. Um, and so there's not really, yeah, it's great to step back, take a breath. We did something great. We accomplished something. We had $100 million valuation. All right, let's get back to work, right? And so that's just the kind of the thing we've done. I think I'll rest when I sell it. if I sell it.
Well, that's the aim that we have to be building businesses with the idea that they will need to be sold at some point, whether they are passed on to somebody or they are actually sold to somebody. They need to be operating on their own, and that's the game. So let me take him back to the journey. Um, what has been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle that you were forced to overcome? You were challenged with, and you had to overcome.
I would say the most memorable was COVID and the hurricanes happening around the same time and going from 37 people to 5 people, right? And then absorbing all that work and all of that into those 5 people. And it made us stronger. It made us pissed off. It definitely there was tons of fights and arguments and but at the same token, we came out on top with, hey, we've got a better understanding of how this works. We've got a more clear game plan that we can communicate easier between 5 people than we could 37. Let's go ahead and build this out, and then we'll worry about selling it. And I think that was a big check to my ego too. Was, hey, we have a company that is the size of 37 corporate employees and it's only 6 months old. And now we've got a company that's the size of 5 employees and it's 2 years old, right? So it was a check to the ego and as well as how to handle things and who to handle them with. And once we got past that and got egos and all that aside, things started going in the proper direction.
That's right. There's nothing like a dose of humility to bring clarity onto the picture. And
Absolutely.
so let's now look at the future and what comes next, right? So where do you see the business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, especially with NOV coming on board, and we start training them, their potential to spend a ton of money. They have 18 different business units and over 1,000 different businesses under their portfolio. So with their growth alone, we should see substantial, growth. But along with the clout brought with that, along with the Storybook Ventures coming in as our lead investor on this previous round. Um, and just grinding and growing. I think we will be offering our nationwide coverage with cars all the way through instead of just Sprinter vans on up within the next 3 to 5. We should be nationwide with that, as well as some international plays with probably Dubai and maybe a few others. So it's steady growth, organic growth, but um, we have this mentality of, hey, let's build a profitable company rather than just grabbing land. So if it doesn't make sense to go there, we're not going to go there, right? We have a map that heats up and says, hey, most of your deliveries go here, a lot of your deliveries go here, they come from here, they come from there, they do this, and we follow that and we let that tell us what to do as far as standing up our next market. So it's very data driven and so far so good. It's worked, and I think we're going to continue that mentality and that path for growth.
Well, Warren, that leads me to asking. Of course, there's a lot of actors in the development of business, and we happen to live in a state that isn't very well known for support to businesses, right? Um, my question to you is: have you found the support you need from like government agencies, like the Louisiana Economic Development or any sort of incentives that help you move forward?
I have not, but it's mainly due to I have not looked, right? We've been so busy grinding and putting our noses down and building that I haven't looked around. We recently got in contact with the director of FEMA because we used our platform during the hurricanes to give people to come drop off donations and get everything put into the app. And then if you lived in disaster zone, you got everything delivered to you for free. And that's what caught Cummins North America's eye was, oh, y'all got this app, y'all are doing stuff for free. Let's do it B2B. So we want to bring back this industrial, this disaster feature and possibly play it with FEMA, which would be a government contract, which would be nice. But as far as using, you know, any kind of resources allocated to startups, and being from Louisiana, we really haven't. We are disabled veteran owned, and we are located in an opportunity zone, but that's as far as we've gone. We haven't really every capital that we've raised, they've either been investors from Lake Charles or now Utah slash they have an office in Dallas. So it's not been geared towards government plays,
Okay.
but that's just mainly because my knowledge of the space is very limited.
Very cool. Well, certainly it's an opportunity. Let me ask you this: as you look at the future, what's your approach to goal setting? You talk about how you picture your ambition, your business operating. Um, how do you go about setting the goals for you and your team? Do you do it on a annual basis, quarterly basis, monthly? I mean, what's the approach there?
Well, here in about 30 minutes, 11 o'clock every Monday, we have a C-suite meeting. It's all hands of the five guys that were original. And we talk about, okay, this is the goals for engineering over the next week. This is the goals for engineering over the next month, the next 6 months. We have an engineering software roadmap. We did the same thing with sales, same thing with operations, and we talk about it each week, and how we set those goals for a month and 6 months out, and then we talk each week of how we've accomplished getting to them and what we've done in the interim. And then there's also some side conversations of, oh, by the way, we've got this trade show going in Midland, or we've got this going in Utah, blah, blah, blah. And so I had to put some efforts to those. But yeah, setting goals and sticking to them is definitely super, super important and proper growth. Otherwise, you're just, shoot from the hip and hoping something lands.
You get into the shiny bright object syndrome.
Yeah, they used to
Yeah.
call me a squirrel. I would, when we first started 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, someone had this great idea. I'm like, we need to do this. And 10 minutes later, someone had another idea. We need to do this. And I would chase all these bright, shiny objects. And finally, Matt sat me down and was like, he's the CEO, COO. And he was like, hey, focus on one thing, and then we'll worry about the next shiny thing. And so I kind of adopted this mentality of focus, and it stands for follow one course until success.
Until
And
successful, yes.
yeah, and we just kind of went with that, and we said, okay, once we're done with that and it's successful, then we'll go find the next shiny thing, but one shiny thing at a time.
And there you go. All right, we have certainly covered a lot of ground in this conversation. And for those who are watching, I highly encourage you to save these and come back a few times for an additional watch. There's a lot of great nuggets here. And so, Warren, as we begin to wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions, quick top of head answers for each. You ready?
All right,
What is the key to success for you?
the key to success. Bringing in a group of people who make me the dumbest in the room. Um, as simple as that. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm in the wrong room. So I want to surround myself with people who are smarter than me and more intelligent and that drive harder than I do.
Love it. What is your one piece of advice for other business owners?
Fail hard, fail fast, fail cheap. So if you want to start a business, get into it, understand the unit economics, and if they work, pursue them. If they don't, dump it. Simple as that. If the math doesn't add up, it's not going to work in real life just because you love it. Don't be afraid to make your babies ugly. Throw it in the trash and start over. Um, and if you can do that, you will save a ton of heartache and a ton of money, or you'll be super successful.
See, you had a situation with COVID where you had to, go down other people. I bet that wasn't an easy decision to do. We talk about it now as something that you had to do. But at the time, it probably did come with its weight. And what most people don't get a chance to do is to have to go through that, where they realize that it's part of their survival to make those decisions, right? Um, and yeah, again, you had the opportunity, let's call it opportunity, to do that because of COVID. But I see too many people who hold on to things that they shouldn't, whether they're equipment, facilities, people, business units, that aren't working for them anymore. And, they just can't let it go. And so, you had some blessing coming in disguise. So, what's one book that you're reading now or you have read most recently that you
Uh,
recommend to people?
book. I am, I would say It is mainly for my sanity, and it's called the Daily Stoic. And it's Marcus Aurelius is basically he's got a different quote each day, and it just keeps me grounded and keeps me thinking of um, what is this problem in the grand scheme of things? It's very small. Let me step back, zoom out, and address it as it should be versus diving 100% into it and letting it engulf everything that I do. So probably not the book you were thinking of, but it's
No, I love it.
one that I read every day. So it's called The Daily Stoic. I definitely recommend it for anyone who is in business or thinking about being.
I mean, Warren, you will not believe it, but you're probably the third person in this series of interviews that I've done that had actually recommended that.
Really?
Yes. So, I
Great.
mean,
Great.
there's a common line here about being in leadership and being able to get grounded because yes, we do tend to make big problems out of small things, and sometimes you need to step away. So, well done. If you had to choose one area of your business you can immediately change or improve tomorrow, what would that be?
One area to immediately change or improve. Hmm. I would have to go with so we shelved the marketplace app, right? We put it away because it wasn't revenuing. It was making up 2% of the total revenue. So it was the C2C play, or the B2C, the business to consumer. I would really like to bring that back now that we have advancements in technology and we could run it for much cheaper than we could back in 2020. Um, but I'm also going to wait for the proper timing. But that would be the one thing that I would change is to bring that back and bring back a few people to just solely work on heading that up.
Very good. So before we get into the final question of the day, how can others learn more about you or your company? How can they get in touch with you guys?
We have a website, gophrapp.com, GOPHRAPP.com. We don't put the E in there because we're from Louisiana. We don't know how to spell. Um, we're actually, that was kind of a waiter thing, and a hamper, and a few other companies out of Lake Charles and Lafayette started that, and we just kind of kept going with it. And so now it's kind of the Silicon Bayou uh, touch on tech. Um, so we've got our website, we've got our phone, 833 go for it. We'll get you in touch with somebody at the office to tell you or sign you up, and or you can download the app in the App Store. Both the driver and the consumer apps are in the App Store. There's an app-based version and there's a web-based version, but you start it all from the app, and then you can go to the website. So gophorapp.com, and that has the URLs, or you can just go straight to the Play stores and download them, GOPHR app, and you'll see them in there.
So, this podcast has a certain national audience. So my question will be, um, or perhaps a recommendation, is there a particular set of cities or places where you will like drivers to approach these?
Well, so we are standing up further north, so we're getting to, you know, your area and like the Bossier and Shreveport area. We're going out now to Midland, which is where one of NOV's main
Yes.
delivery routes is, and then a little bit further over to Mississippi, Alabama. So we're doing that organic growth out that direction. So if anybody's interested, and also the Houston area, there's always necessity for Houston and Beaumont. Um, so if they're interested in signing up, either as a driver or as a consumer, that would be their best bets to get started as we're growing there currently.
Very good. And so, for the last question of the day, what do you find is most inspiring for you
Most
at this
inspired.
time?
I think that being able to if you think about starting a business as a hunter-gatherer kind of thing, um, it's inspiring to know that, hey, I was able to provide for my family, do my own doings and my team's own doings, and I didn't have to rely on corporate America to keep me going, right? I actually got out and I did things and became self-sufficient. And Gopher's not my only business, but I've done this, for 10 years now, and it's nice to know that you can build something that can
pay the bills and support your family and support other people in your group. And once you do that once, then you're just eager to repeat it as many times as you can and not go back to working for the man.
There you go. It is inspiring, and it truly makes you somebody special. Not just because you get to decide what your own future is like, but because in doing so you create for other people too. There's a lot of people who depend on what you're doing, and so congratulations.
Thank you.
My hat's off to you, man.
I
So
appreciate it.
thank you for joining us today and sharing all this with us. Thank you to the audience for watching and sharing. You never know who you might inspire by sharing these and having them listen to this interview. So make it a great day. Until next time.